You can't fix what you don't know. And this is especially true when it comes to personal finances. If your money feels messy, unclear, or like it's somehow leaking every month, even though you have a budget, this video is for you. In previous videos, we talked about how to make a money system that actually works and is customized to your life. And one of the key steps we identified in that process was doing a personal finance audit. So today I'm going to walk you through how to audit your personal finances in 5 clear steps. And more importantly, how to figure out what your budget isn't telling you. And quick context if you're new here. I'm Brianne, I'm a CPA, and auditing is literally my job. We're going to walk through 5 key steps. First, we'll look at the big picture. Next, we'll look at where your money is actually going. Then we'll audit your accounts. After that, we'll audit your debt and obligations. And finally, we'll audit your priorities. But before we jump into step 1, there's one thing you need to do first. Before we can actually start the audit, we need to gather all the relevant financial information. This means collecting your bank statements, your credit card statements, any loan statements, investment statements, and your pay statements. I recommend looking back at least at the last 3 months, but obviously the more months you review, the easier it becomes to identify patterns. But 3 months is definitely more than enough to gain clarity. Once you have everything in front of you, we can start the audit. Now that we've gathered all the information, it's time to zoom out. Before we start talking about spending or categories, we need to look at the big picture. This is where we check your net worth. Your net worth is made up of 2 things: your assets, which is everything you own, and your liabilities, which is everything that you owe. Assets include things like cash, savings, investments, and any property you can liquidate for cash. Liabilities include credit cards, loans, line of credit, student debt, car loans, all of it. Your net worth is calculated by taking everything you own and subtracting everything you owe. You don't need exact numbers here, but you should aim for a close estimate. This gives you a snapshot of where you stand and what you're currently working with. Because if you don't know your numbers, your money is already making decisions for you. Next, we're going to audit your cash flow. This is usually the part that makes people the most uncomfortable, but it's also where the biggest insights come from. At this point, we're looking at your bank and credit card statements, not your budget, because statements show reality and budgets show intention. Looking at your statements, ask yourself 3 questions. What spending is fixed? What spending is flexible? And what's leaking? Fixed expenses are things like rent, insurance, and minimum debt payments. These amounts don't change much month to month. Flexible expenses are groceries, gas, eating out, and shopping. These are categories where you have room to adjust. And leaks are the sneaky ones. Subscriptions you forgot about, convenience spending, and small charges that don't feel significant on their own, but they add up. This step is more important than reviewing your budget. Because let's be honest, most people set their budget but never really look back at it. They assign a number to a category without realizing the number might be too high or too low because they haven't actually reviewed their cash flow. At this point, if you've watched my previous videos, you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but this step is crucial. I want you to look at your accounts and ask yourself one simple question. Is my checking account doing too many jobs? Is it handling savings, spending, emergencies, and random expenses all at the same time? Because when everything lives in one place, nothing has a clear purpose. Some red flags here include an emergency fund that constantly has to be rebuilt, savings that keeps getting dipped into, and just feeling like you're saving but never actually making any real progress. Accounts need rules because structure is going to beat motivation every time. When your money has structure, you don't have to rely on willpower every time you get paid. This is why I separate flow money, savings, and sinking funds. Not to be fancy or complicated, but to remove friction and decision fatigue. Next, we're auditing debt. List out every debt you have: the balance, the interest rate, the minimum payment. That's it. At this stage, we're not choosing a payoff strategy or making big decisions. We're just observing, because you can't prioritize goals if you don't know what's competing for your income. This last step is the most important one, and the one most people overlook. After you've reviewed all your numbers, ask yourself, what am I currently prioritizing with my money? Then ask, does that actually match what I say matters to me? This is where I often see that people are saving for everything, which usually means saving for nothing, have financial goals competing against each other instead of stacking, or money going towards habits that don't really move their life forward. Your budget is a reflection of your values, whether it's intentional or not. This step is about alignment, because when your money and your priorities match, everything feels lighter. And also, a personal finance audit isn't something you just do once. It's something you revisit. I recommend doing this at least quarterly or anytime something changes. A new job, new expenses, or new priorities. And here's one simple action step I'm giving you this week. Pull your statements and look. No fixing, No optimization, just awareness. Because you don't need better discipline, you need more information. If this helped you, make sure you're subscribed. I break down money systems that actually work in real life, not just on paper. And I'll see you in the next one.